Hello and welcome everybody to another Shadowlands video. Another Shaman Shadowlands video. Today's video is going over the pretty controversial changes on the PTR for 9.05. There's a lot of crazy changes. I'm going to talk about them. So let's get into it. As a quick disclaimer, these changes are not set in stone. Obviously, tuning could happen at any point between now and the launch of 9.05 and even just a little bit after. So these are not finalized changes. These are something that Blizzard devs are testing on the PTR, and hopefully they get some good feedback. But it is important to fully understand what these changes mean, so let's not jump to conclusions. I'm sure some of you guys are already typing in the comment section, "Oh, we got nerfed, everything's fucking terrible, blah, blah, blah." Like, no. Calm down. Let's talk about it, okay? So, Shaman. First things first, Earthshock got a pretty substantial buff. Instantly shocks a target with concussive force, causing from 210% of spell power to 273% of spell power in nature damage. So what that looks like on retail, if I can show you guys the tooltip, here's my character sheet. I have 23% versatility and 1536 intellect. I'm 226 item level, okay? My Earthshock tooltip says just under 4K, all right? I don't have any buffs on me, nothing. So just under 4K. And on PTR, the tooltip is just over 5100. Again, same character, 23% versatility to 226 item level, 1535 intellect. So you can see the pretty substantial difference here in the Earthshock damage. Moving on. Earthquake, its damage has almost been doubled. Very close to doubled the damage, causing the earth within 8 yards of the target location to tremble and break, dealing a spell power times 0.23 to now 0.391 times 6 divided by 1 times 1 plus versatility times 1. Physical damage over 6 seconds and sometimes knocking down enemies. What does that look like? The tooltip on retail says 2600 damage over 6 seconds. On the PTR, it says 4434 physical damage. Quite a substantial difference here. Let's move on. Lava Burst for both Restoration Shaman and Elemental Shaman has been nerfed by just over 10% of spell power. So hurls molten lava at the target, dealing now 97.2% of spell power, fire damage, and Lava Burst will always critical strike if the target is affected by flame shock. So what does the tooltip say? On my character, it's 2040 damage for Lava Burst. On PTR, it's 1837 fire damage. It's a nerf, okay? Another thing, Echoes of the Great Sundering has been substantially nerfed. We're going to talk about this. Hold your horses, comment section. When you cast Earthshock, your next Earthquake will deal, instead of 175% additional damage, it's now 100% of additional damage. What do I think about this? Well, they are moving a substantial amount of Earthquake damage from our legendary into its base damage. This means that we're going to be far less reliant on this legendary in order to do competitive AoE. This opens up the doors to other legendary usage in Mythic Plus, because Echoes of the Great Sundering has been a staple and a contingency points for a lot of people because it feels very awkward to cast Earthshock into an Earthquake in AoE. So it is still a DPS gain to cast the Earthshock into the Earthquake with this change. It's still a DPS gain because Earthshock, both Earthshock and Earthquake has been buffed. So it is still a DPS gain. Likely if you use this legendary in Mythic Plus, your rotation in AoE is going to stay the same. And your rotation in a single target is going to stay the same as well. The sad point about Lava Burst is that this is actually quite a nerf to us in PvP. So even though they're moving Lava Burst damage into Earthshock, and this is a relatively single target increase for raid damage, for single target raid damage, it hurts us in PvP because our opening burst window has a lot of Lava Burst damage in it. What does this mean about talents? What does this mean about talent usage, stat weights, stuff like that. Let's get into it. So for Echoing Shock usage, you're still going to be using this on Lava Burst. It's not changing to Earth Shock, not yet. This also means that you're probably still going to be using Echoing Shock in PvP because it brings out the most damage burst window by using Primordial Wave into Echoing Shock and Lava Burst. Let's talk about stat weights. So this makes mastery scaling a little bit worse because you have to think about the nerf to Lava Burst isn't just affecting the Lava Burst, it's affecting our mastery as well, because Lava Burst can Elemental Overload, Earth Shock cannot, Earthquake cannot. So this affects, of course, the Elemental Overload damage from Lava Burst. So that's another thing we need to think about. So Mastery could weigh a little bit less. You can expect that Mastery is going to weigh a little bit less when you're using Windspeaker's Lava Resurgence. Okay, you may want a little bit more crit now, a little bit more versatility, a little bit more haste instead of mastery. That is a possibility. That is speculation. We don't have the exact numbers right now, but do expect to see a shift in stat weights for a lot of things too. So does that mean that Windspeakers is now bad and we should be using another legendary for raiding or for single target? No, Windspeakers is still going to be very strong. In fact, it's going to make up for a lot of the damage that we lose from the Lava Burst nerf. So it's still going to be relatively strong for single target. For Mythic Plus, do I expect that we're going to be moving away from Echoes of the Great Sundering in Mythic Plus specifically? I think that is a very, very real possibility. It could definitely happen. We could see just an overall more beneficial output from just running Windspeaker's Lava Resurgence in Mythic Plus, so that this legendary itself will make up for the lack of priority damage, the lack of single target damage that we would normally not have as much of if we were running Echoes of the Great Sundering. But since a lot of the power of this legendary is now being moved into the base damage of Earthquake, we can definitely move things around a little bit. We can prioritize a more well-rounded damage profile as an Elemental Shaman in Mythic Plus. And so this also frees up a lot of contingency points that Elemental Shaman has in Mythic Plus. Like, we either have a priority target damage build or we have an AoE build, and then like you kind of suffer in the other direction of your damage profile. And so like this change kind of balances out the class a little bit more if it opens up the windows to not using Echoes of the Great Sundering anymore in Mythic Plus. This also means that Skybreaker's Fiery Demise and the potential to use Storm Elemental instead is a very real possibility. I'm going to be doing a lot of testing of Skybreaker's Fiery Demise this week on live servers, but that's just another point. Again, this is kind of theory crafty. It's kind of speculation, but as far as what this means for Elemental Shaman in Mythic Plus specifically, I think these are actually really good changes. I honestly think these are good changes. And I know some of you guys are thinking, whoa, these numbers don't make sense. Why would I ever use Echoes of the Great Sundering if I'm spending 60 Maelstrom to Earth Shock and then another 60 Maelstrom to Earthquake to get the same amount of damage out of the Earthquake? It's not the same amount of damage because of the Earth Shock buff and the Earthquake buff. It is still a DPS increase to Earth Shock into the Earthquake, but it's not a substantial amount of DPS increase in AoE to warrant us using the legendary anymore. Like I said before, we could use other legendaries and our AoE will be completely fine. Yes, you can use Windspeakers, you can use Skybreakers, and your AoE will be completely fine. You could even use Storm Elemental. I think Storm Elemental will become a little bit more popular with this change. So that covers the Elementals section. So let's talk about Enhancement. So Enhancement is getting a lot of buffs. Lava Lash charges your offhand weapon with lava to burn the target, dealing now 75.6% of attack power as fire damage. Damage is increased by 100% if your offhand weapon is imbued with Flame Tongue. Likely Blizzard is trying to spread things out a little bit, making sure that Enhanced Shaman are not putting all their damage into Wind Fury and Storm Strike. Stormkeeper for Enhancement. This is only for Enhancement. Don't look at this and be like, okay, so this is affecting Elemental as well. No. So charge yourself with lightning, causing your next 2 chain lightnings to deal 300% more damage and be instant cast. They have completely removed Lightning Bolt from Stormkeeper for Enhancement Shaman, and they've buffed the crap out of Chain Lightnings with this. So, because it's on a 1-minute cooldown for both Elemental and Enhancement, we could definitely see Stormkeeper come out of the woodworks on 9.05 for enhancement. Because if you think about it, actually, enhancement's burst windows are very heavily reliant on being venthier and using chain harvest at 5 maelstrom weapon stacks. Sundering is on a 40-second cooldown, and Stormkeeper is on a 1-minute cooldown. So 20-second difference. And we could see a very real drastic shift from going into or from taking Sundering and going into Stormkeeper instead to prolong their burst AoE windows. I understand that for enhancement, Chain Lightning only affects 3 total targets and Sundering hits multiple targets in front of you, but Stormkeeper has the advantage of not requiring being in a specific position. Sundering requires you to position your character 100% properly to get the most out of Sundering. Whereas Stormkeeper is a lot more loose. It's easier. The Chain Lightnings have a 6-yard range as far as like how far they will hop from one target to another. So it's a lot more lax and it's a lot more easier to use. So I do suspect that some people will start to use Stormkeeper instead of Sundering. Legacy of the Frost Switch got a buffed. Consuming 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weaponing will reset the cooldown of Storm Strike and cause your next Storm Strike to deal now 30% increased damage instead of 15. This can go on your necklace or your wrist. I don't know if this is going to replace Doom Winds. Doom Winds has been consistently strong even with the bug fixes and the nerfs. We'll have to see what simulations show. We'll have to see what in practice shows. But I don't know if a 15% damage increase on the effect is really going to shift the legendary usage. Comment down below if you think that this will do that. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Restoration, Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem. After using Mana Tide Totem, the cast time of Healing Wave and Chain Heal is reduced by 50%, and the mana cost of Chain Heal and Healing Wave is reduced by 40% for 10 seconds. Restoration Shaman don't really have mana issues, especially when it comes to Mythic Plus and Prideful usage. They have so many cooldowns, they have so many defensive group healing cooldowns that they don't really have mana issues. But if Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem isn't already used in raids or in Mythic Plus, because I don't know for sure, let me know in the comments down below what the Mythic Plus legendary is. We could see a huge change in strategies with running a Restoration Shaman and using this legendary. Pathing differences when Prideful spawns, pulling additional mobs into Prideful because the healer can now keep everybody alive because they have reduced mana costs using this legendary. Like this could make some changes in routing for Mythic Plus if this legendary is not already used. Anima Power, Earthquake causes the... Yeah, I don't think this is supposed to be here. I think this is a typo for Wowhead. So that's the changes for Shaman. Obviously, there's going to be more changes to come. I'm very excited for these changes, actually, because I really, really, really want to test Skybreaker's Fiery Demise and Storm Elemental in keys again, and hopefully relive BFA Burst AoE. It's not going to be the same because Storm Elemental is target cap, but it would be nice to have additional cooldowns that are very, very useful in AoE. I'm excited to test that out. We'll probably do another video for that. I suspect that our covenants are not really going to change, especially if we shift into Skybreaker's usage in Mythic Plus. Like Necrolords is an additional Flame Shock, and you want as many Flame Shocks out as you can get while using that legendary to reduce the cooldown on your elemental as much as you can. So additional Flame Shock uptime is very, very useful. So I don't really see Necrolords going anywhere as far as the powerhouse. Plus they're getting buffed, like Fleshcraft is getting buffed to the T's. So we'll see what that's going to look like, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you like it, like the video. Subscribe for more Elemental Shaman and Shadowlands content in the future. Comment down below what you guys think of the changes. Obviously, these are overall good changes for Elemental. It's moving our damage into the right locations rather than relying on specific legendaries to do good AoE. I like these changes now that we've actually figured them out. If you guys want to support my content, come over to my Twitch live stream, twitch.tv/Barokoshama, where I live stream pretty much every day. You guys can follow the stream here, be a part of my Discord community as well, or you can subscribe to my Patreon account and support the content through that. As well, I'm doing a new YouTube series where subs to my Twitch channel and Patreon supporters can submit videos that I will critique and upload to YouTube with commentary. And if you guys are interested in my personalized Weak Ors UI and player profiles, that is also something that patrons and subscribers on Twitch have access to. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Until next time, keep calm and Maelstrom on. Bye-bye.